Whoever is online at the top. Okay, hello, the animation. We're going to ignore them whenever. Yeah, take a screenshot of that. Photos. Here over. Okay, the animation. Yeah. Hmm. Hello, Ultra. We will do you next. Oh yeah, this is Dan. This is Dan. And pick that so that I can get the lines I want. Sorry, person on Pinterest. Do I steal this one? Hope you don't mind. I love how Pinterest has a download image feature. Now never do I ever use somebody else's image from Pinterest, but it's just good to have. Cause like TikTok, if you want to practice it, you have to stay on the app, on the video for hours, because now you can't save the videos. I think they should go for adding that feature. But it's nice to be able to save this, like, because TikTok wastes battery. I think anybody can agree with me on that. It destroys your battery charge. So I think that you should be able to save videos so that you don't have to waste your battery while trying to learn a new TikTok dance. Alright, YouTube, so that we don't have to screen record everything, because that takes too much of our time. Too much time that we don't want to spend rewatching video so that people can get that coin. Sorry, but we don't want you to show us ads. I know it's a phenomenal concept, but we really don't want to watch them. Animation, you give me this happy-go-lucky, tired emo boy feeling. I don't know why, but I'm doing it based off profile pictures, so change your profile pictures while you can. I'ma catch 'em on camera. Time must be spent wisely. This is time spent wisely, seeing as I don't have to go to bed tonight. Oh, so how's Ramadan going? Hello, Shadow Reaper! Join the Discord server all you can if you want to be drawn, because I am drawing people. People, person, uh, they. Just another they. So person, people, person. Human. I identify as cat. No, please. What cough? Did I cough? I coughed subconsciously. I guess I coughed subconsciously. Oh, I have a screenshot of it now. Here. Make that big. Oh yeah, that's a person. You grab this greasy green skin color. Sorry, but it's greasy green now. And we just make the whole person this greasy green. This is brown. This is brown, isn't it? It's not greasy green. It's greasy green brown, I guess. He's gonna be a greasy boy. And we have to grab the red for the side. You'll join soon? Okay, well, as soon as you join the server, if I see you on, I will show your profile picture. Because that's what I'm doing today. Very nice brown hair. This needs to be above. So, that'll have to do. That's the best. Oh, yeah. It's very common, and it's all Pinterest too, from the same person as well. Nothing special for the eye bags. You can't forget the eye bags. They are essential to a person's personality. Oh yeah. That's a mentally not okay person. And now we do my trick. We take the shading, we go to another layer, and we shade to our heart's content with the biggest brush physically possible. This is what I've been doing recently, and I really like hot shades. Honestly. Do we want some jams? Do we want some jams, boys? Tell me, do we want some jams today? Some music to listen to? Get that covered. The oh, I could ignore that. You know what? We're putting on some music. You guys can deal with the musical ads. Oh, you know what? We don't have to deal with ads if you listen to Morning Cup of Murder.
All right, guys, I have another promo for a show that I think you guys are going to love.
Besides the
Hillbilly Horror Stories. Do you like your paranormal with a small dash of comedy? Hillbilly Horror Stories is just serious enough for the hardcore paranormal enthusiasts, but entertaining enough for skeptics or non-believers. Each week, comedian Jerry Pauly tells his wife, Tracy, a story about a haunted location or an unexplained event. The fun part is that Tracy has no clue what the story is, so you get her genuine reaction, and she asks the questions that you are probably thinking to yourself. As a bonus, Hillbilly Horror Stories releases 6 episodes each week with varying styles for you to enjoy. There is truly something for everyone. Sound like something you'll love? Then head on over to wherever you listen to your podcast and start listening to Hillbilly Horror Stories today.
They found the telephones and electricity lines.
We have a weird homicide.
A scene described by one investigator as reminiscent of a weird
Cup of murder. Religion can, in some cases, cloud the judgment of even the most strong-willed individual. On April 14, 1938, a man was born who would take on the divine right of becoming a beloved Catholic priest. A man who, when one of the nuns in his chapel was brutally killed, came under deep suspicion but was ultimately let free based on the religious beliefs of the man in charge of the case. So if you like your coffee hot but your bones chilled, sit back and start your day with a morning cup of murder.
I'm feeling tired, and that's why we're listening to murder
Father
stories.
Gerald Robinson, born April 14, 1938, and 42 years old at the time, worked alongside Sister Margaret Ann Paul in 1980, where he, as the Jesuit chaplain, ministered to the sick and terminally ill, and she acted as the caretaker of the chapel at Mercy Hospital in Toledo, Ohio. Both beloved, Father
Toledo.
Robinson was a popular priest in the heavily Catholic area, and Sister Margaret was known as a strict taskmaster who got what was necessary accomplished. The two worked closely together and, for the most part, seemed to work well with one another. That was until April 5th, 1980, when their work was cut short and someone found Sister Margaret's bloody body on the floor of the chapel she cared for so well.
Uh-oh.
In addition to being choked to the point of near death, the 71-year-old, on the day before her 72nd birthday, had been stabbed 31 times in the chest, neck, and face in a pattern that closely resembled an upside-down cross. Her forehead had been anointed with a smudge of her own blood, her habit pulled up to her chest, and her underwear pulled down to her ankles. Though she was not raped by the killer's own body, he penetrated her with a cross and posed it in a position of humiliation for the pious woman.
Holy shit.
Almost immediately, suspicion was thrown upon Father Robinson for the ritualistic murder, though not quick enough, as he was the man who presided over Sister Margaret's funeral mass just 4 days after her murder. The main piece of evidence against him was the blood stain found on the altar cloth that was consistent down to the dime-sized medallion bearing the image of the U.S. Capitol to the sword-shaped letter opener Father Robinson kept on his desk. Not only did they find the potential murder weapon, but, according to some sources, police were also able to locate a book on how to perform the satanic black mass in Father Robinson's possessions.
Damn.
While many would have taken this as a concrete sign of guilt, the chief detective on Sister Margaret's case, Deputy Police Chief Ray Vetter, was devoutly Catholic and did not want to make any moves that may scandalize the church and soil the reputation of a pillar in their community. According to the chief of the criminal division in the Lucas County Prosecutor's Office, Dean Mondros, Deputy Vetter also asked that all reports about the case be given to him first, some of which were never seen again. Father Robinson was, however, submitted to a lie detector test in which he admitted that he knew who murdered Sister Margaret, but due to the religious severity of Catholic confession, could not reveal the killer's true identity. Because of all of this, Father Robinson was not arrested, and without a suspect to bring to trial, Sister Margaret's case went completely cold as many began to suspect a possible cover-up. Years passed and, while the case remained a cold one, Father Robinson continued to serve the Catholic population in Toledo for the next 23 years and presided over 3 different parishes until 2003, when he began administering to the sick and dying at several Catholic homes and hospitals. While he seemed to quietly flourish, Sister Margaret's case remained exactly where it was until December of 2003, when a Lucas County cold case investigative team reopened the case and decided to give it a fresh look after a woman wrote the police a letter claiming that Father Robinson had sexually abused her as a child. Molestations that, according to the letter, involved satanic ritualistic behavior and human sacrifice. The woman, referred to as Survivor Doe, later filed a civil lawsuit against Father Robinson, seeking financial damages for being the victim of his ritual abuse, but due to the file being presented too late, the case was dismissed in 2011. Needing more information, Sister Margaret's body was exhumed, and a forensic pathologist helping with the case noted a stab wound in her jaw that could have been made by the letter opener found in Father Robinson's apartment. Not necessarily new news, but with new technology, the DNA from under her fingernails and on her underwear was tested and, shockingly, did not match that of Father Robinson. Regardless, police still felt as though he was a viable suspect, and in April of 2006, arrested the priest and held him without bail. Father Robinson, of course, denied any involvement in Sister Margaret's murder. Despite basing the case widely on the circumstantial evidence, Gerald Robinson was brought to trial on April 24, 2006, where the prosecutor in the case showed the jury a videotape of his 2004 police interrogation. In it, he claimed he had been stunned when one of the other hospital chaplains accused him of killing Sister Margaret, but when left alone in the interrogation room, folded his hands and began whispering the word sister before bowing his head and saying a prayer. Though I'm not sure what the prosecution hoped to prove with that video, they did bring up the forensic scientist who testified that the letter opener, quote, could not be ruled out as the murder weapon, and in their closing arguments claimed that the opener and Sister Margaret's wound matched like a, quote, key in a lock. Despite the circumstantial evidence, after 9 days of deliberation, a jury found Gerald Robinson guilty of all counts on May 11, 2006, making him only the second Catholic priest in the U.S. to be convicted of homicide.
Yep.
The 70-year-old priest was sentenced to 15 years to life imprisonment and would be eligible for parole in 2016. The conviction was upheld 2 months later, and in December of 2008, the Ohio Supreme Court declined to hear the case.
Ooh.
The U.S. Supreme Court did the same. Having run out of legal appeals, in 2010, Gerald's legal team petitioned the state appeals court for post-conviction relief on the grounds that, in their opinion, Sister Margaret may have been murdered by 27-year-old confessed serial killer Coral Eugene Watts, a man who stabbed 12 women to death in Texas and at least one in Michigan, though he is suspected of killing another 80. Women who, in addition to being stabbed, had their shirts pulled up to their necks and had been posed in humiliating positions with no signs of sexual assault. The appeal was denied on April 11, 2011, on the grounds that, at the time of his 2006 trial, Gerald's attorneys knew that Coral was a possible suspect in Sister Margaret's murder, but chose not to pursue it as a defense strategy. They also cited the dissimilarities between her murder and Coral's MO, mainly the fact that almost all of his victims were much younger than Sister Margaret and were killed outdoors. They have made a few more attempts, but on July 4th, 2014, Gerald Robinson, after having a heart attack a few months before, passed away in the prison hospital at the age of 76. Thank you for joining me in my morning cup of murder. Please join me again tomorrow to hear a terrible thing happened on April 15th. Don't forget to rate and subscribe and let me know how you like it. If you want to help support the podcast, there's always Patreon or just sharing it with your true crime obsessed friends. And remember, stay safe.
Welcome to Total Wine and More.
I'd like a new Cabernet.
You will love this one.
Wow!
Find what you love what you
There were 2 more murders 15 miles away. When police arrived, they found the telephones and electricity lines.
We have a weird homicide.
A scene described by one investigator as reminiscent of a weird...
Morning. Cup of murder.
On April 13, 2014, a man filled with hatred, after decades of voicing his controversial opinions, finally picked up a gun and took the lives of people he hated simply because they were different. So if you like your coffee hot but your bones chilled, sit back and start your day with a morning cup of murder. Fraser Glenn Miller Jr., born November 23, 1940, dropped out of high school to join the U.S. Army where, for the next 20 years of his life, he served his country, rose up the ranks to Master Sergeant, and served 2 tours of duty in South Vietnam during the Vietnam War. He was also a man who was introduced to white racialist politics by his father and became a member of the National Socialist Party of America during the Greensboro Massacre in November of 1979. These views would eventually get him discharged from the Army. He was caught distributing racist propaganda, and in 1980 founded the Carolina Knights of the Ku Klux Klan, which later developed into the White Patriot Party, or the WPP, an organization that was pro-apartheid and openly advocated for the establishment of an all-white nation in the South. Not willing to stop with the WPP, Glenn tried and failed to obtain the Democratic Party's nomination for the governor of North Carolina in 1984, and then the Republican Party's for a seat at the Senate in 1986. In January of 1985, Glenn signed an agreement with the leader of the Southern Poverty Law Center in exchange for dropping a lawsuit that the center had brought up against him. According to the SPLC, they had accessed the WPP's computer system and found evidence that their leader, Glenn Miller, was making plans to assassinate their leader, Morris Dees. However, just over a year after
Bro.
signing that agreement, and accused of violating those terms by operating a paramilitary training camp, he was found guilty of contempt of court and sentenced to a year in prison with orders to cease all contact with white supremacists.
Whoa!
In April of 1987, a typed-up, quote, declaration of war was mailed to 5,000 different individuals. The letter began, quote, "In the name of our Aryan God, through his beloved Son, I, Glenn Miller, now this 6th day of
Yeah, bro,
April,
this is definitely
1987,
I
do
was
hereby
right.
declare total war. I ask for no quarter, I will give none." Before going on to declare war specifically against Black, Jewish, and queer individuals, as well as, quote, assorted mongrels, white race traitors, and despicable informants.
Holy
It went
shit,
on
this
to
really
threaten
is
Morris
Hitler.
Dees, the leader of the Southern Poverty Law Center, and establish a point system for not just his assassination, but the assassinations of several federal officials. He went on to make a number of horrifying allegations about basically any other race or religion outside his own, and on April 30th, 1987, was arrested after authorities raided a mobile home he was renting and found that, because he was sharing it with 3 other men of similar belief systems, he was in breach of his court orders. While bringing he, Tony Wydra, Robert Jackson, and Douglas Sheets into federal custody, police found an arsenal of weapons, including C4, dynamite, pipe bombs, and hand grenades in the mobile home. Glenn Miller was indicted in May of 1987 for communicating a threat via U.S. mail, pleaded guilty to avoid the numerous other charges against him, and was sentenced to 5 years in prison. He then went on to testify against several defendants in the Fort Smith sedition trial. The WPP dissolved in his absence, and after 3 years in federal prison on weapons and paramilitary violations, he was released. And because he was now an FBI informant, he was given the name Frazier Glenn Cross Jr. He used this name for several years before reverting back to his legal name. After his release, Glenn began to work as a trucker and started writing an autobiography titled A White Man Speaks Out, which he had privately published in 1999. By 2002, he had moved to Aurora, Missouri, and, after retiring from trucking, tried to dip his toe back into the white supremacist movement by publishing his own newsletter. One that, even those involved in the movement, had mixed reactions to and felt as though Glenn was a traitor to their cause. He eventually became an affiliate with an anti-Semitic white nationalist website and, in 2004, wrote an essay calling on Americans to rise up against the Jewish, people of color, LGBTQIA community, abortion, and church-state separation. 2 years later, he ran as an independent write-in candidate with the 7th Congressional District of Missouri, and in 2010, ran in a Senate election where he did much of his campaigning on the radio. Something that was met with a lot of criticism, as it was disputed whether Glenn was a legitimate candidate or just using his run to get airtime to spew his harmful diatribe. Because nothing legal could be done about his unorthodox campaigning method, Glenn was able to continue his supposed campaign. In late March of 2014, Glenn was, after a visit to the emergency room, diagnosed with emphysema and told he had about a 50% chance of living 3 or more years. It was at that moment that the very vocal white supremacist, one who spent years making a name for himself bore out of hatred, decided that, if he was going to die soon, he was going to take some of his most hated opponents down with him. Opponents that, in reality, are guilty of only having a differing opinion to his. Innocent people who are about to lose their lives in the name of anti-Semitism. On April 13, 2014, 73-year-old Frazier Glenn Miller Jr. arrived at the Jewish Community Center of Greater Kansas City and, near the entrance of the White Theater, fired at 2 men, one of whom was able to escape immediately while the other managed to, after having his shoulder bag hit instead of him, escape without any injury. He then turned his sights on a 69-year-old Dr. William Lewis Kaporon and his 14-year-old grandson, Reet Griffin Underwood, who were both hit upon pulling into the parking lot of the center. Dr. William died at the scene of the shooting. He was shot in the head with a shotgun, while Reet was able to hold on until finally succumbing to his injuries inside of the hospital. As the sounds of bullets rang out, local teens were inside of the building auditioning for KC Superstar, while a number of actors, Crew members and other staff were milling around preparing to set up for the 2 p.m. performance of To Kill a Mockingbird. There was also a fitness class being conducted inside of the building for
Ironic.
children with autism. Basically, the building was filled with
Ooh, he
adults
killed
and
the
many
autistic.
children.
That's
As the sounds hit their ears, some of the adults made the first calls to 911, while others, one with paramedic training and another with military medical experience, rushed outside to try and help the victims Glenn had already claimed. After shooting a number of other bullets, thankfully missing each and every single time, Glenn got back into his car, leaving behind all those children at the community center, and opened fire at a Jewish retirement center, Village Shalom, that was situated just a mile away. A woman walking through the parking lot, Terry Lamano, was shot and killed while 2 more were shot but thankfully missed. At 12:45 p.m., an hour and 45 minutes after the shooting
take over
began,
the world, but he
Glenn Miller
misses
was
all his
arrested
shots.
outside the Valley Park Elementary School by 2 officers who identified him using the tips called in by witnesses. As he was led away, he continued lashing out various hateful rhetorics. Dr. William Kaporan and his grandson were both Christian and attendants at the United Methodist Church of Resurrection, and Terry Lamano, an attendant of St. Peter's Catholic Church, was an occupational therapist who was visiting her mother that day. Of those shot but uninjured, only one was of the Jewish faith.
Well, yeah.
After searching Glenn's home, in which they found a plethora of ammunition, a shirt with a swastika, anti-Semitic publications, directions to several synagogues, and a printout about the Casey's Superstar auditions, and his personal history, police determined that this crime was an act of anti-Semitism as well as domestic terrorism. According to a later interview, Glenn had been planning the shooting since he received his grim diagnosis from the doctors. Because he purchased all of his firearms from a straw buyer, he was able to go without a federal background check, which would have ceased the purchase altogether due to his federal charges. The man who sold the gun to Glenn, John Mark Rydell, was indicted by a grand jury on federal charges of providing false information on a federal firearms form, pled guilty, and was sentenced to 5 years probation and home confinement for 6 months. 2 days after the shooting, Glenn Miller appeared in court via video and was charged with 1 count of capital murder, which, because they were all, quote, part of a common scheme or course of conduct, covered all 3 of the murders. He is believed to be the oldest person to be charged with capital murder in Kansas history. 3 charges of attempted first-degree murder and counts of aggravated assault and criminally discharging a firearm at an occupied building were later added. On December 18, 2014, he was found competent to stand trial, and after a few other hearings to determine if each charge had sufficient evidence, and a number of plea bargain attempts, on May 14, 2015, Glenn Miller shocked everyone when he announced that he wanted to fire all of his attorneys and insisted instead on representing himself, stating, quote, "It's my life and I'll do as I please. The death penalty don't bother me." And that, if found guilty, he would, quote, "climb up on the gurney and stick the needle in myself." The judge agreed to his request, and upon taking over his case, Glenn announced that one of the witnesses he planned on calling was actor Mel Gibson. The trial began on August 17, 2015, and over the course of 11 days, Glenn made a nuisance of himself in the court. He yelled out of turn, made a number of self-incriminating statements, objected to the words of the witness oath, quote, because they did not include the word God, and said that he was proud of his crime. Of course, all while making a number of racist and anti-Semitic statements along the way.
Obviously.
On August 31st, 2015, Glenn Miller was found guilty of 1 count of capital murder, 3 counts of attempted murder, and assault and weapons charges. About a week later, a jury recommended that he receive the death penalty. The judge agreed, and he was officially sentenced to death on November 10th, 2015. When later speaking to the press, Glenn said that if he were to ever get released from prison, he would absolutely kill again. He died while still behind bars on May 3rd, 2021, at the age of 80. Thank you for joining me in my morning cup of murder. Please join me again tomorrow to hear what terrible thing happened on April 14th. Don't forget to rate and subscribe and let me know how you like it. If you want to help support the podcast, there's always Patreon or just sharing it with your true crime obsessed friends. And remember, stay safe.
Switching and saving with Geico is easy, so you're free to ponder life's big questions. Like if a person can get discombobulated, does that mean the rest of the time they're just like combobulated? Are we humans always in a state of combobulation? Until, of course, something dramatic happens and we are discombobulated for a while. Then we go back to being
Let's
combobulated.
see what happened on my birthday. Yeah, this is what happened on my birthday.
There were two more murders 15 miles away.
When police arrived, they found the telephones and electricity lines.
We have a weird
A
homicide.
scene described by one investigator as reminiscent of a weird
Couple murder.
Desperation can make a man make some deadly decisions. On April 12, 1983, a man desperate for money was born and would, as a young adult, spend just over a year brutalizing a defenseless group of victims for the money they received from their pensions. So, if you like your coffee hot but your bones chilled, sit back and start your day with a morning cup of murder. Denis Sergeyevich Pishigov was born on April 12, 1983, to a loving family living in Sverdlovsk Oblast and lived a happy childhood despite being born with a congenital disease.
They bought it.
However, with the fall of the USSR, his father was left without any work and died soon thereafter, leaving all of the financial and emotional worries on his mother's shoulders. Working at a radio plant to try and make ends meet, Lyuba Ivanovna worked long hours and, because of that, failed to notice her son veering off the right path. Soon she met and married an electrical locomotive driver named Alexander, who, unlike the kind father who helped bring Denis into the world, was an alcoholic who wanted nothing to do with his new stepson. After completing the 5th grade, Denis dropped out of school and spent a majority of his adolescence running from the police, wanted for theft and hooliganism. When he was 16 years old, Denis moved to Moscow, where, just a year later, he was arrested for attempting to steal a radio from a parked car. Despite his checkered past, Denis was able to convince the officers to allow him to simply sign a paper promising he would stay in the village and walk out of the police station. He promptly disappeared and was added to a federal wanted list. Despite his wanted status, Denis's crime was not serious enough for police to waste a lot of man-hours on his capture. And because of this, he managed to make it to Vladimir Oblast and, soon thereafter, met a girl and moved in with her. A woman who he convinced, while hopping around from job to job or not working at all, that he found a well-paying job by bringing home money that he stole from the homes of retirees. A crime that, at first glance, may have seemed harmless until you learned that the elderly men and women he robbed rarely made it out with their lives. Taking advantage of their weakened state, Denis committed his first murder on March 29, 2002, in the village of Pashnevo, where he stole 3,000 rubles worth of pension and murdered the 81-year-old recipient. The next day, and killed the exact same way, police found the body of her 77-year-old neighbor. Denis did the same on November 8, 2002, in the village of Pontachino, getting only 700 rubles, and again on January 17, 2003, where he was unable to find anything worth stealing. At a number of the homes he entered, Denis stole things like food from the refrigerator, even eating it while he was still at the crime scene, and in some cases, left behind a bloodied and battered homeowner who, though barely, was able to survive their attack. He also left these remote villages in a complete panic. On March 18, 2003, he broke into the homes of 2 different elderly people, stealing 950 rubles and a piece of sausage, and a few weeks later, committed 2 more murders in the village of Korovino and got away with about 1,120 rubles. Nicknamed the Shivering Creature, Denis managed to kill and rob 14 elderly people over the course of just over a year. The last of his crimes took place on April 3, 2003, when he entered the home and killed not only the elderly pensioner of whom he was taking the money from, but his 50-year-old daughter as well. At least, he thought he killed the daughter. The woman, according to some sources, survived her brutal attack. It was around this time that another pensioner recognized Denis as he approached her home and called the police. Upon his arrest, he was asked how he could kill so remorselessly. The 25-year-old replied, I had pity for them, but I have more pity for myself. I needed their money so I can live better. His justifications for the murders were eerily similar to the attempts made in Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment, leading many to believe that he was inspired by the novel. Because of such, he was branded the new Raskolnikov. Having confessed to his murders, Denis Pishagov was sentenced to life behind bars. Thank you for joining me in my morning cup of murder. Please join me again tomorrow to what terrible thing happened on April 13th. Don't forget to rate and subscribe and let me know how you like it. If you want to help support the podcast, there's always Patreon or just sharing it with your true crime obsessed friends. And remember, stay safe. Today's episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. What interferes with your happiness? What are some things standing in the way of you being the best version of yourself? For a lot of people, life, your past, and sometimes your current situation can cause roadblocks in your life. Mental health is incredibly important, and so many, including myself, can benefit from talking to a professional and working to dismantle those roadblocks. That's why I'm excited to talk to you guys about BetterHelp. BetterHelp knows that no two people are the same and will help to assess your personal needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist that you can meet with in whatever way is most convenient for you. Whether that be live chat sessions, phone calls, or video chats, you can start talking to your online therapist in less than 24 hours. Not only that, but it's incredibly affordable, more so than traditional in-person therapy, and BetterHelp offers financial aid and access worldwide. They truly make it easy for anyone to seek the help that they need. Stress shows up in all kinds of ways. And in a world that's telling you to do more, sleep less, and grind all the time, here's your reminder to take care of yourself, do less, and maybe try some therapy. I've talked about it before, but I've struggled with anxiety on and off for most of my adult life. And for the longest time, I felt as though there was no way to pinpoint the cause and simply kept on living with it. Then I got on BetterHelp and thankfully got some of the help I so desperately needed. There is truly someone out there for everyone. And BetterHelp is committed to finding your perfect match, which means if you and your counselor don't mesh for whatever reason, they make it easy and free to seek someone new if needed. As a listener, you'll get 10% off your first month by visiting our sponsor at betterhelp.com/morningcup. Join over 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health. Again, that's BetterHelp.com/morningcup.
Hey, it's Mo and Sally with iHeartRadio. A few years back, our garage door was very loud and it didn't go up and down smoothly, so we contacted Precision Garage Door Service.
They inspected our door, which was fine. It was the old worn-out parts that needed replacing, so they installed high-quality Precision parts, and it's like we got a brand new door.
Precision never uses...
Today's episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. What interferes with your happiness? What are some things standing in the way of you being the best version of yourself? For a lot of people, life, your past, and sometimes your current situation can cause roadblocks in your life. Mental health is incredibly important, and so many, including myself, can benefit from talking to a professional and working to dismantle those roadblocks. That's why I'm excited to talk to you guys about BetterHelp. BetterHelp knows that no two people are the same and will help to assess your personal needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist that you can meet with in whatever way is most convenient for you. Whether that be live chat sessions, phone calls, or video chats, you can start talking to your online therapist in less than 24 hours. Not only that, but it's incredibly affordable, more so than traditional in-person therapy, and BetterHelp offers financial aid and access worldwide. They truly make it easy for anyone to seek the help that they need. Stress shows up in all kinds of ways. And in a world that's telling you to do more, sleep less, and grind all the time, here's your reminder to take care of yourself, do less, and maybe try some therapy. I've talked about it before, but I've struggled with anxiety on and off for most of my adult life. And for the longest time, I felt as though there was no way to pinpoint the cause and simply kept on living with it. Then I got on BetterHelp and thankfully got some of the help I so desperately needed. There is truly someone out there for everyone. And BetterHelp is committed to finding your perfect match, which means if you and your counselor don't mesh for whatever reason, they make it easy and free to seek someone new if needed. As a listener, you'll get 10% off your first month by visiting our sponsor at betterhelp.com/morningcup. Join over 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health.
Shoot, my
Again,
new
that's
contact is Twitter,
BETTERHELP.com/morningcup.
There were 2 more murders 15 miles away.
When police arrived, they found the telephones and electricity lines.
We have a weird
A
homicide.
scene described by one investigator as reminiscent of a weird...
Murder.
Most of the time, we would hope a sentence that is handed down is a fair and just way to make a person pay for their crimes. This, however, is not always the case. On April 11th, 1941, a woman was arrested for a series of horrific crimes and, because of a very informative client list, was able to walk out of prison after just 3 months of jail time. So if you like your coffee hot but your bones chilled, sit back and start your day with a morning cup of murder. Felicitas Sanchez Aguion was born in the year of 1890 in Cerro Azul, Veracruz, to a mother who, from the very beginning, showed her daughter very little affection or attention. Though a lot of the details of her childhood remain mostly unknown, it has been surmised that this rocky relationship with her mother triggered a psychopathology that would shape the vicious monster she was, known for poisoning neighborhood dogs as a young child, and would later become. But more on that in a minute. During the 1900s, Felicitas graduated from nursing school, began her work as a midwife, married a man named Carlos Conde, and birthed twin daughters that she would have no interest in, nor enough money to care for, suggesting to her husband that they should be placed up for adoption. He agreed, they were taken, but he eventually changed his mind. But when he asked his wife where his daughters were, she refused to give him any information. They divorced in 1910, and Felicitas moved to Mexico City. While here, living in an apartment on Salamanca Street in Colonia Roma, Felicitas started to attend local births and, on the side, practice illegal abortions for her clients. She was also known to deal in illegal adoptions and, during the 1910s, was arrested twice for the off-the-book adoptions and for baby farming. In addition to her shady business practices, Felicitas was described as an ugly woman with bad manners and a, quote, very strong character, a bad attitude, and an off-putting personality. Though, of course, this is all a matter of opinion. While living at that apartment on Salamanca Street, those in the area started to notice a few strange things when it came to Felicitas Sanchez Aguion. For one, while her clientele were mostly women of meager means who could not afford to care for the children they carried in their womb, the nurse was also visited by a number of extremely wealthy women who, for reasons unknown, chose to turn to a midwife in a marginal neighborhood to tend to their pregnancies, instead of a more well-known specialist. There was also the fact that the plumbing in the building always seemed to need repair. Eventually, the clogs became so persistent that Felicitas became good friends and accomplices with the plumber who did his job and asked very few questions. Finally, there was the matter of the horrific-smelling smoke that emitted from the building on occasion that sent everyone's stomachs turning. You see, behind closed doors, this helpful midwife was committing a number of atrocious crimes. Eventually nicknamed the Ogress of Colonia Roma and the Human Crusher of Little Angels, Felicitas practiced clandestine abortions, not totally uncommon for the time period, trafficked the surviving newborns out to new, wealthy families, or purchased them from their desperate mothers, and eventually evolved all those practices into murder when some of her charges did not sell. In total, experts believe Felicitas was responsible for an estimated 40 to 50 deaths during her time in Mexico City between 1930 and 1941, most of which were either poisoned, like the dogs of her childhood, or strangled to death before being incinerated or thrown down the sewer. Prior to being killed, the infants in her care were given ice baths, forced to sleep on the floor, left unfed for a prolonged period of time, and fed rotten meat or milk whenever she deemed it necessary to feed them. All of
those kids are on hardcore mode.
And when on April 8th, building yet again complained of drainage problems. And this time, the owner of the property found their own plumber and several masons to completely drain the sewers. When they did, they were met with a plug made of rotten meat, bloody rags, and grease that smelled like death and decay. However, what really turned their stomachs and made their hearts drop was when they dug a little bit further and found a skull that, given its size, could only belong to a human infant. Immediately, police began their investigation and, at its conclusion, arrested Felicitas's plumber/accomplice, who told police everything he knew, and on April 11th, 1941, arrested a pregnant Felicitas and her second husband as, according to some sources, she tried to make an escape from Mexico City. When the police searched her apartment, they found an altar filled with candles, needles, baby clothing, a number of baby photos, and a human skull. Placed in prison for 3 months, Felicitas's mental state began to crumble, and she began regressing and behaving like a young girl. She cried all day, spoke as a child would, and threw tantrums that would give a toddler a run for their money. Meanwhile, her lawyers threatened to release Felicitas's client list, one that contained some of Mexico City's elite, if she was not given a reduced sentence. And because of this, she was allowed to walk free on bail after just those 3 months in prison, despite all of her charges and the strong evidence against her. Carlos Conde, the ex-husband whom she refused to tell where his daughters were, was the one who paid her 600 peso bail. While she could not be prosecuted again for her crimes, Felicitas knew her life as a midwife was long over, and that everyone in the area now hated her. Because of this, on June 16, 1941, shortly after her release, Felicitas Sanchez Aguilan overdosed on medication and took her own life. She left behind 3 posthumous letters that showed no emotion or guilt for what she did, or the daughter that she now left behind without a mother. She became a ward of the state and, as far as is known, became a completely normal and well-adjusted adult despite the mother who birthed her. Thank you for joining me in my morning cup of murder. Please join me again tomorrow to hear what terrible thing happened on April 12th. Don't forget to rate and subscribe and let me know how you like it. If you want to help support the podcast, there's always Patreon or just sharing it with your true crime obsessed friends. And remember, stay safe.
And now it's Geico's Motorcycle Rules of the Road. Avoid biking in the rain and never touch another person's bike.
Hey guys, look at these bikes. So shiny. Whoops. I'm gonna leave a note. Oh gosh, there's more.
And the rule to saving on motorcycle insurance is, in 15 minutes, Geico could save you 15% or more.
Finding the right person for the job isn't easy. Just ask someone who hired a karate teacher to trim their hedges.
Hey-ya! Man, these shrubs are not made of plywood. Don't worry, another few chops should do it. Yeah! Nope! Yeah! Dang!
But if you've got an insurance question, you can always count on your local Geico agent. They can bundle your policies, which could save you hundreds.
Oh, this treehouse looks like particle board. Yeah! There we go. I'm starting to doubt myself.
For expert help with all your insurance needs, visit geico.com/local today.
For you as subcontractors, you can go on their website and find out about the technician that's scheduled to come to your house.
Whether it's a tune-up, a new opener, or a complete door replacement, Precision has got you covered. Go to flgaragedoor.com.
Finding the right person for the job isn't easy. Just ask someone who hired a monster truck driver to deliver pizza.
And the neighbors are going wild. You can hear that engine from a mile away, Fran.
And he's foregoing the driveway and heading right up the lawn and over the azaleas. What a power move.
But if you've got an insurance question, you can always count on your local Geico agent. They can bundle your policies, which could save you hundreds.
With 6-foot tires and a roll cage, this pizza guy can quite literally crush the competition.
For expert help with all your insurance needs, visit geico.com/local today.
Elated? Yeah, that's probably how that works. Switch and save with Geico. It's easier than you think.
Home. They say it's where the heart is. They also say it's wherever you make it. They don't say it's where you unload your stuff, get tired halfway through unpacking, use some boxes as furniture, realize your oven mitt's in a box that doubles as a nightstand, don't want to buy a new nightstand, and use a towel as an oven mitt instead. But no matter where you call home, Geico makes it easy to bundle and save on renters and car insurance. Easier than grabbing a piping hot pan with a towel that's a bit too thin and trying to quickly get it to the counter. Ooh, hot, 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 hot.
Love what you find at Total Wine & More. Drink responsibly, B21.
Finding the right person for the job isn't easy. Just ask someone who hired a monster truck driver to deliver pizza.
And the neighbors are going wild. You can hear that engine from a mile away, Fran.
And he's foregoing the driveway and heading right up the lawn and over the azaleas. What a power move.
But if you've got an insurance question, you can always count on your local Geico agent. They can bundle your policies, which could save you hundreds.
With 6-foot tires and a roll cage, this pizza guy can quite literally crush the competition.
For expert help with all your insurance needs, visit geico.com/local today.
Okay, bye, Shadow Reaper. Oh, my headphones are connected. Oops. Oh.
Isabel!
Yeah?
Time.
I'm busy.
I don't want to hear it. You got all day tomorrow.
I know, but I'm busy now. Love you.
Isabel?
Hey! Love?
Isabel?
Love? Oh, I love you too. She's mad at me because I won't take a shower. I took a shower last night and I washed my hair. And I am super clean and super good smelling. I can take one tomorrow morning. I have no school. I don't know if she's happy about that or not. No. Hey, Ma. Would it be okay with you if I took one tomorrow morning since I don't have school? So
Would it be okay if you what?
Took one tomorrow morning because I don't have school.
Took one what?
Shower. So that
If you can get through the shower in the time it takes me to get her out of the door so we can go.
How long does it take you to get her out the door?
Maybe half an hour.
I can do that. As long as you wake me up first. That's the real problem. You gotta wake me up because I'm not waking up in time for that.
Then set your alarm for 8. No later.
8? Aye, Captain. Love you. Love you.
As evidenced by my overzealous parenting, I know. But if I get this information and I have it, I won't remember it. But if I have this information, I find it out and I tell it to you, guess who remembers? Both of us.
Okay.
Don't ask me how that works with my brain.
Okay.
But I have to tell it to someone, or more than one someone's.
Oh.
Do you know what I'm saying?
You are so weird, but okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So I found out this information, and it's only helpful to you that I know this information.
Okay.
Okay?
Love you. Please close my door on your way out. No! Fan on. Fan on. I
was trying to turn the light off, but...
I have a lamp.
Yeah, apparently.
And no, this is
Well,
not...
Rusty in or out?
Wherever he decides.
Out it is.
And no, this is not a server for building. This is my friend's world. This is a server for my friend world. I want to make one of those big glass buildings. You know what I'm talking about? Like those big glass buildings. I use minimal materials, which I know I am not doing right now. My little sister made ramen. Are you kidding me? You didn't give me some? Ugh, offensive. That's a nice building. I really don't like this. Thank you. Just gotta make sure they don't see me doing this. Because I don't know if that works for me. Shh, hide the evidence. Hide the evidence. Hide the evidence before they tape it in chat. Go, go, go. They heard the TNT. How many others heard it? Just dirt, nothing. Thank you. Just dirt. Nothing happened. It totally wasn't me testing out TNT. Which I don't know if they actually allow TNT. Fastest way to clean up a building. Nobody can change my mind on that. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to misgender. Oh, wait, shoot. Go quick. I haven't even started building yet. Now what's something else that, oh, they're helping, okay. Yeah, help me hide the evidence. Thank you. Okay, so now what's something that all cities need? Looks like they got houses done. Let's build giant bank. And not just any bank. A Bank of America. I need quartz. Pillars. Yes. A Bank of America. Okay. So we're gonna start way over here. Hopefully they don't mind. 8, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I love that, yeah. The witnesses like burn it. I'm gonna question what I'm building and they're gonna say I'm off my plot. But that's okay. Because I'm building on the bank and they can suck it up. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Bye, bye, bye. Bye-bye. No, I'm kidding. They did just go offline. It's quite cute. Let's play on Hive. Yeah. Duh. Why would I not? It's a decent build battle. Last time I tried to build a tall building, I failed miserably. Okay, I'm very good at making tall buildings, but if I make it tall, I have to make it big. I have to make it thick with 3 C's. Just build, my favorite. You know what? Sure. I'll play duos, because I'm a little bitch ass. Oh yeah. Look at that. Oh yeah, I reset my records. I don't like that I reset it. I'm very mad at myself for doing that. So, do I partner? Nope. Okay. We're carrying double the ass this time, guys. And we need Obby. There we go. See, I don't like Death Run. I'm very good at it, but I just don't like it. Oh yeah, I think everyone's good at hide and seek, unless you just like suck at holding still for extreme amount of time. Oh my god, I hate having to do this. I hate having to cover double the weight because of the incompetence of others. Like, we shouldn't start the game if there's an odd amount of players. We should, especially on duos, we should start the game if there's an even amount of players. Or at least a number that's divisible by 2. Like, if it's trios and we start with 9, and we start with 10 people, there's going to be 3 groups of 3, and then there's just going to be 1 lonely person. Wow, what an amazing concept. So, I have to carry the weight of others. Hooray. Ugh, I hate people. I like duos though, because sometimes you'll get a really good builder and you'll win first place every time. I have 8 minutes to finish that. That's a lot of time. Watch this. Later I'm gonna say that's not a lot of time. Oh shoot, I gotta get closer. Oh no, baby, no, I hate when that happens. Oh my god, I feel your pain through the screen. I got a phone call while it was in the voting round. I didn't get to see my score, and it didn't count because I technically wasn't in the game. Oh no, oh, I hate when that happens. Oh, I also love that when this happens, so many people misbuild their nether portal. Like, just build it wrong. And they are the funniest people to vote on, because you know they tried their hardest, but they still got it wrong. Occasionally. Oof! Oh my god, why are you giving me so much pain? Where are, yeah, I need these little weird nether plants. I need more nether shit. Okay, bye, site.
This was 2 people? Ugh. Sorry, I see no collaboration here. And what is this? They trying to make another roof? Good job, but only do what you got time for. And only if you can collaborate. Plus, lava doesn't make rivers like that. 1. Not natural in another besides bastions, which this wouldn't be in a bastion. Love the idea, but no. Fine. Go immediately go to look at the fences and try to figure them out. Again, Nether isn't like this. And I don't know where that's coming from. But I don't know how to do it. Wait, did I not get on fire? Oh, there we go. Oh, this person was also 1 person. No, I feel bad. This was 2 people arguing. Yeah. Or 1 person having a very, very bad day. Yep, 2 people arguing. Gassed. Calling you right now. Oh. Sorry. That's not a ghast. Second. This isn't another fortress. I put 1 in mine by accident. I realized my mistake, but also that's floating. And why is the ghast on the ground? Oh my god, it's so cute. I love the blaze. I love the ghast. I don't like that they're made out of concrete. I also don't like this. This clearly was 1 person, and that clearly was another person. Which shows who spent their time on what. Yep. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 problems. I have 5 problems to build. Besides the shape. Okay, I love how you did that. But, again, this isn't in the nether. The theme was nether. It clearly says it at the top of my screen. 1 person, but you could spend your time elsewhere. 2nd place. Woo, that's actually pretty good. Okay, guys. People would move. Take a picture of that. It looks cooler with the Enderman up there. And now that raises me up to 25 victories. Let's go. Oh, I love how many readings I have. Please, something good. Enderman. Open. So we're not going to spend a lot of time on this, but okay, I can't even use it. Good to know. This looks so stupid. But I don't have time to destroy it and rebuild. You know, that's a lot easier to read than fences. Yeah, I could have built a better Enderman than the end. Endermen don't hold TNT. Love the rest of it though. I can't wait till the day where I find a perfect builder in this godforsaken game. Okay, so some people go straight to reading, other people go. Yeah, you can't really close, but. No, half of them didn't even read the sign. I don't know what that is. Bob. Okay, you know what, Bob? Also, grass blocks aren't that big. I'm so sorry. You look amazing. They designed all the eyes wrong. See? Ats. Yeah. I don't know what that is, but I don't think Endermen hold it. Do they hold any blocks that use light? I don't think they do. Okay. Oh. Crap. I actually like this one. He's beautiful. Watch me lose. Yeah. Not even top 3.